Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Secretary Manila, Dr. Pop, Director Rivera. In behalf of the team, Dr. Dalisay is right now, our advisor is right now in China. She would like to thank you, all of you, for coming over, and also Ma'am Corazon Macaraig of PNBSEA. So we are three comprising the team. The report used an IYB framework, which are the 4 pillars: the promotion, in promoting inclusive volunteerism, representative of the diverse groups in society. Facilitation, the next pillar, ensuring that the maximum number of people from the broadest range of backgrounds have access to volunteer opportunities. The third is networking, fostering the exchange of experience and strengthening partnerships among different entities, promoting and implementing volunteer projects. And the fourth, recognition, acknowledging the value of volunteerism to society all over the world and the connection between volunteerism and the MDGs. The objective of the paper is to document the achievements and contributions of volunteering in national development and international cooperation, identify factors that facilitate and hinder volunteering for development, and recommend collaborative action in harnessing volunteerism in the attainment of the MDGs and the Philippine Development Plan 2011 to 2016. For the methodology, we use focus group discussion. The FGD has 7 to 10 participants, each FGD representing different sectors. And we had it in Cordillera, Dakar, Cordillera Administrative Region, Region 3, Region 7, the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and the National Capital Region. And of course, we had a separate FGD with the foreign volunteer service organizations. For the region, we have partnered with the NEDA regional offices. Another method is the survey. So we farm out survey forms, joining all sectors also, and most of you have received it. And what is in it? We have asked about their programs, projects, and activities for volunteering. Also, what are the challenges they encountered while undertaking all these programs? And also the appreciation of IYB and MDGs in relation to volunteering activities and even sustainable future. As a brief highlight on where these the respondents who submitted the form, the responses, we have from, of course, NCR, CAR, and all down the region, so it's spread out. Another instrument were interviews. We introduced distinguished personalities with track record in volunteering to know how their personal advocacies are translated into volunteering initiatives and activities, even including their perspectives in sustaining volunteerism and development. The report also highlights the contributions and accomplishments of the voluntary sectors since the declaration of IYB 2001, citing specific efforts as examples of good practices. And of course, the choice of the sector representation is based on the volunteer service programs at the time of the study. So we trace back the roots of volunteerism in the Philippines, the Bayanihan, as mentioned earlier. Bayanihan signifies a communal spirit of volunteerism that enables completion of tasks through the power of unity and cooperation. There is also this pakikipagkapwa, the self in relation to others. These are the 2 values that covers the report. Pakikipagkapwa motivates a volunteer to share his or her services, without which the service becomes meaningless. There is also the spirituality. A strong personal faith in God enables Filipinos to face great difficulties and unpredictable risks that is especially seen in volunteering during crisis and emergency situations. Now, how does volunteerism is seen in development? Volunteerism, as it is a service out of love for the other, for the community, without expecting anything in return. It is also a commitment, a sharing of time, talent, skills, and even expertise as a way of personal growth for others. There is also the UN definition of volunteerism, which highlighted that it should be undertaken primarily not for financial reward, to be undertaken voluntarily in accordance to the individual's free will, and should redound to the benefit of someone other than himself or the volunteer. Development is also understood as change for the better, uplifting the socio-economic life of ordinary people and the attainment of peace and security. That's why volunteering for development. Now, what are the pillars connected with all the initiatives and activities of volunteering in the country? The first pillar is on promotion. This is where we see promoting inclusive volunteerism through development, through deploying of volunteers in programs, projects, and activities. It is where here volunteers are engaged, given capability building and training, and also likewise the volunteer managers. And briefly, the survey shows these are the nature of volunteer services. They engage volunteers in programs and projects. They provide capability building, training for volunteer managers. They recruit the whole cycle of it, recruit, train, and deploy volunteers. And also they promote and advocate, including established networking and linkages among others. So we have the academe, NGO, and CHIV as respondents. School-based volunteering is seen in academic institutions' mandate and in the conduct of extension programs in partnership with the community. Government volunteering, on the other hand, has promotion, recruitment, networking, and even training of volunteers. And on the NGO side, services are in capability building and training of volunteers. So to run down, these are the activities that were opened up to volunteers in the 10-year period. We have the environment, institution, mission, specific activities, health and nutrition, community development, social services delivery, even entrepreneurial. Of course, we know that volunteers are always enjoined for emergency and relief operation, rehabilitation, also agriculture, education and research, even IT related, and of course, some are in capability building, promotion, and advocacy. Volunteer in the academe are, as I said, institution or mission-based activities. And on the extension work with the partner communities, they are in health and nutrition, environment, delivery of social services, community development, and education. Volunteering in the NGOs, we have delivery of social services, even research work for, like example, tourism and children, effects of tourism on children. Then we have nutrition and health and many others. Cited also are water and sanitation projects, sustainable agriculture program, family and farm strengthening, and electoral reform project. For the NGOs, the government, we witness volunteering programs and activities opened up for volunteerism. Those mandated with them is like it has been mainstream are the volunteer probation aids. This is the one in PPA, the Parole and Probation Administration under the DOJ. They have institutionalized volunteer probation aids. Volunteering initiatives by employees through associations. They do tree planting, coastal cleanup, delivery of social services, outreach program, medical mission. So even government employees do volunteering. Now, this has created also some partnerships. The Our Lady of Grace Academy partners with Pfizer Engage program, the Department of Tourism Social Interaction, and even the Central Luzon State University partnered with Gawad Kalinga for their communities. Also TESDA in partnership with Crack Foods, the Philippine Ports Authority in human trafficking prevention with the Visayan Port. Let us see how the types of programs more or less are seen. No? So all the programs and projects that were open for volunteer are more local level, very few on the national and even regional. Volunteers engage, heavily they engage volunteers for 1 to 10 days. Very shorter period of time. Number of volunteers, sorry, it's not at the time. Number of volunteers engaged, it depends on the activities they're invited to do. You will notice that it is 1 to 10 days, very short period until 50, number of volunteers. These are getting confused. The number of volunteers there. So very few, up to even 3,000 volunteers for very few activities. Let's get to the major contributions and accomplishment of volunteers. In the academe, we see improved academic performance of students in national achievement tests, curriculum development, skills training programs for the communities, and even nurturing and development of student volunteers to become more socially relevant and better citizens. For the NGOs, we see making a difference in the lives of youths. High school students are now being helped to become useful rescue volunteers. They also enjoy volunteers from non-disabled children to us as champions for the disabled ones. Self-sufficient sustainable health programs for the elderly, assistance to former illegal settlers to become self-reliant community, and service provider in times of armed conflicts, disasters, and calamities. For the corporate world, they empowered communities through their employee volunteering activities. They organize also rescue groups to save lives and distribute relief goods during disasters and calamities. Facilitate the media, the ABS-CBN during the on-die time, and also facilitate relief operations by media networks during typhoons. For the NGAs and LGUs, major accomplishment for that period is opening volunteer desks and assigning focal persons for volunteering within the agency. There is also the developing of new programs for volunteering. We have the Bayanihan volunteer program for government service, the DepEd Brigada Escuela. Mobilizing citizens for volunteering activities are seen in the delivery of basic services in their localities and during emergencies. For the Foreign Volunteer Service Organization, we have USPC, the Peace Corps' new program direction, Multiplying the Power of Service, which focuses assistance to specific needs and partners. We also have the Australian program, the programmatic plan that help local partners in programming and synergizing volunteer assistance. The Awiska Children's Forest Program, which has now covered 1,000 schools and 5 hectares of reforested areas. The Korean program in assigning and supporting the environment and livelihood. The VSO Philippines on peace-building programs. We have the Filipino UNDs abroad in humanitarian and special operations in developing and less developed countries. The VSO Bahaginan Foundation sends also Filipino volunteer development workers in Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, Pacific, and the Caribbean. For the British volunteers here in the country, they facilitated 2 provincial environmental acts in Samar and Agusan. Formation of Matilino Bay farmers and fishermen, and developed municipal development plans of Samar and Agusan and Surigao. Now, how does the IIB pillar on facilitation seen? We have policies related to volunteering. RA 9418 or the Volunteer Act of 2007 that provide policy framework for harnessing volunteerism for national development and international cooperation. RA, we have, as mentioned also earlier, online volunteering facilities for easy access to and matching of volunteer needs with opportunities for volunteering. We have ivolunteer.net.ph set up in 2003 by Pinoy Win, and also currently the DSWD online registry of volunteers on disaster risk management and response that was set up last year. And also the initial study of the National Statistical Coordination Board on measuring the economic impact of volunteer contributions to Philippine development society, to Philippine development. Right now, we were given a framework for this effect. The Foreign Volunteer Program Deployment Framework. Now, for the network, we are now the IYB pillar of networking. The International Association of Volunteer Effort Philippines, IAPE Philippines, is a group of volunteer managers and advocates that specialize in volunteer management, advocacy, networking, and capability building. IAPE Philippines produced a training manual on volunteer management in 2004 as a source book to enhance the competencies of managers, of volunteer organizations in setting up and managing volunteer organizations and projects. The next organization is the Volunteer Organizations Information and Exchange Network, organized in 2001. It answered the need for a mechanism that would facilitate the exchange of learning and resources among volunteers and volunteer managers, particularly by the volunteer groups in the Visayas and Mindanao. Voice National Summits are conducted annually for volunteers and heads of volunteer organizations to discuss important national and local issues affecting volunteering for development. UNV, UNDP Multi-Donor Program, and PNV-SCA, the Volunteers for Information and Development Assistance Program, in the assignment of VIDA volunteers as peace and development advocates in conflict areas is mostly Mindanao. DNR's National Greening Program that enjoys the corporate, academe, NGOs, LGUs to volunteer their services as individuals. And we have seen also partnership with an NGO Kaisa para sa Kaunlaran and the LGUs of Valenzuela City, Tayabas, Quezon, and the whole entire province of Ifugao in the implementation of the Early Child Care and Development Act. Now for the recognition, we have celebrations and awards on volunteerism. Today is IVD Day. We are all celebrating it, and this is every 5th of December. And also, this is an IVD for economic and social development. Activities range from trimedia, information campaigns, conferences, volunteer fairs, volunteer awards, and mobilization of volunteers for social services, technical support, humanitarian, system advocacy for relevant issues, and even resource generation for volunteering causes. December is also the National Volunteer Month in the Philippines, a time to build public awareness and appreciation of volunteerism, create the environment for bolstering voluntary action, and recognize volunteers as partners in development. The MBM Search for Outstanding Volunteers has given 82 awards to individuals and organizations from all over the country since it started in 2001. Let's try to look at the volunteering for the MDGs. Volunteering in the academe is seen towards achieving universal education and ensuring environmental sustainability. On the government side, it is more inclined for eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, environment-related, and have substantial global partnership for development. That's MDG 8. Only few organizations engage volunteers in combating HIV/AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, and academe ranks least in concern for improving maternal health. All have volunteers in programs and activities that promote gender equality and empowering of women and in reducing child mortality. Now, against all this, everybody has faced challenges. Number one for them is funding. Sustained funding for volunteers package of benefits and incentives and support for volunteering programs, projects, and activities. Advocacy and linkaging and coordination, they have several challenges met. Advocacy on volunteerism as a development strategy has not reached the local level. A common venue to link volunteers and volunteer organizations at the local, regional, and national levels. Improve and effective sectoral interface of policy, systems, and procedures between the government and NGOs. And last is the coordination of foreign volunteer service programs that are not yet registered with PNV-SCA. Security, they see that because there's an accurate and timely information, safety nets and mitigation measures, and effective coordination mechanism for volunteers working in the areas. There is also to synergize local volunteering initiatives with the goals of the PDP 2011, 2016, and the MDGs. And lastly, properly recognize the contributions and impact of volunteerism to society. To conclude, volunteerism is indeed an effective modality for enhancing citizens' participation in community affairs. It is even beneficial in inculcating values of social responsibility and supporting the achievement of the MDGs and PDP. Structures, policies, and systems and mechanisms are in place, notably the legislations, national policy directions, volunteer programs, facilities, and infrastructures for advocacy, networking, partnerships, and recognition. All efforts of volunteerism needs convergence among the partners and advocates of volunteerism for unity and progress of volunteering for development. As a recommendation, formulation of a volunteer sector plan, alongside the preparation of the roadmap for RA 9418, to flesh out the intents of the PDP 2011-2016 and UNDA 2012 to 2018 in terms of sector and regional priorities for volunteering. Strengthen public-private partnership in volunteerism for building social capital, collaboration for sharing of information and resources, and developing a national system of measuring and reflecting the contributions of the voluntary sector in the Philippine gross domestic product. And lastly, there is a need to create a national network of volunteers and volunteer organizations to provide venue and hub for sharing volunteering opportunities, best practices, and technical assistance, and serve as conduit for undertaking collaborative activities and partnerships in implementing programs and projects. We thank you all on behalf of the team, and good day.